Hi, it's Amber. The boogeyman, poltergeist, what if I told you it gets even scarier than that? Here are 7 things found under the bed that just might be scarier than monsters. Number 7, crocodile. Guy Whittall woke up one morning to find an 8-foot crocodile hiding underneath his bed as he slept. This reptile was a 330-pound Nile crocodile. It turned out that he had snuck into the Humani lodge in Zimbabwe 8 hours before Guy found him. Guy, a former Zimbabwean cricketer, sat on the edge of his bed, feet unknowingly dangling in front of the croc's face. He sat there for a significant amount of time that morning before he decided to go eat breakfast. That was when he was alerted that his scaly friend sat under his bed. But he wasn't the one that found the guy, but his housemate, who could be heard screaming in the bedroom. He was astounded that he hadn't noticed the entire morning, but it is a known fact that crocs are expert at keeping still and quiet. It turned out that this Nile croc came from the Turgway River over a mile away. It isn't unlikely for crocodiles to wander about when it's cold, looking for a warm place to sleep. Looks like under a bed was perfect. He immediately let the housemate leave and gathered up some friends to help him remove the crocodile and take him home. It wasn't easy, but they managed to do it. Since it wasn't near water, it wasn't as much of a danger as it couldn't drown the capturers. Today, everyone in Humani checks under their beds for not monsters, but crocodiles. Number 6, dead body. There are many cases of dead bodies found under hotel bedrooms, but not many of them are documented or anywhere but in Las Vegas, except this one. On July 10, 2003, a man checked in for the night at Capri Motel in Kansas City, Missouri. He told the front desk that there was a foul odor in his room. He was told that there was nothing that could be done about it, so he would just have to deal with it or leave. He had booked the room for an extensive amount of time, but after 3 nights the odor became so intense that he couldn't take it anymore, so he left. The cleaning crew went up to his room after he had left and started doing their job. When they got to the bed, they picked up the mattresses to change the sheets and were frightened by what they found. A dead body in an advanced stage of decomposition. The body had been there for several days, since before the man had checked in. No one knew the decomposed man nor when he had gotten there. I advise you to remember this story the next time you stay at an odd-smelling motel. You never know who the last person to stay in your room was. Number 5, sinkhole. What's scarier than a giant hole under your bed? A giant hole that eats you. It was 2013 in Sefner, Florida, when Jeff Bush was heard screaming from his house. There was a loud crash followed by the screams of the man, followed by his brother Jeremy. When he got there was no bedroom left, fire rescue spokeswoman Jessica D'Amico said. There was no furniture, all he saw was a piece of mattress sticking up. Jeremy Bush, the victim's brother, called 911 as he tried to help his brother. He jumped in after him, but the dirt was already up to his neck. He tried his best, but the dirt was too fast and he was too human. It wasn't until a deputy arrived that Jeremy was saved as the deputy pulled him out of the sinkhole. His brother Jeff was not so fortunate. The hole started under Jeff's bed, inches wide. When it finished, it was 30 feet across, but officials say below the surface it was most likely 100 feet. The entire house was built on a sinkhole. Houses nearby were evacuated due to the size of the hole. Jeremy Bush, the victim's brother, will most likely be traumatized for life. He was screaming my name. I could swear I heard him hollering my name to help him, he said of his brother Jeff. Jeremy's wife and daughter, and another adult were in the house, but all managed to escape. But Jeff Bush, who was swallowed up by the sinkhole under his bed, was never found. Here's a pretty scary one, but first be sure to subscribe to Peachy Planet. Number 4, thief. It's a common fear. You leave home and return to find a burglar hiding under your bed. It happened in Palm Springs to a 61-year-old woman. She had returned home and was searching for her cats. She reached her hand under the bed, expecting to feel their soft fur as they curled up to her. But instead, her hand met a man whose intention was to burglarize her house. This break-in was noted by a neighbor who saw a man knock on her door, but she didn't answer. He then proceeded to the back of the house where he disappeared. He went in the house expecting it to be empty, but found the woman looking for her cats. He quickly hid under the bed. His name was Christian Vadovec, and after being found, rather than harm the woman, he ran outside, jumped the fence, and sprinted away. It turned out that a gold ankle bracelet and digital camera were stolen from the woman. Christian was found a few blocks away where he was then taken back to the woman to be identified. The man faced burglary, grand theft, and resisting arrest charges. His bail was $53,000. Number 3, escape tunnels. What is more precarious and shady than an escape tunnel? Maybe an escape tunnel under a tanning bed. In December of 2014, in Milledgeville, Georgia, a 36-year-old man named Shane Cox was arrested for selling methamphetamine. It took months for the police to confirm that he was indeed doing what they thought he was. After the arrest, the police commander called in the bomb squad to assist in the search for drugs, traps, and bombs. Humans and dogs alike searched the house thoroughly for any leads. They ended up finding meth as well as gunpowder. This was all normal and seemed like your standard drug arrest, but what authorities found next was truly astounding. When they went to inspect Shane's tanning bed, officers found a 6-foot hole underneath. That well-concealed hole connected to 2 tunnels and a trap door under a chair in the living room. This tunnel led to other rooms as well and explained why Shane had often gone missing when authorities would check up on him. The man had been a pain for law enforcement for months, and they were more than relieved to finally catch him. But still, not even they could argue that the man knew what he was doing and did a fine job at avoiding them. Number 2, stalker. For a teenage girl, there's nothing more frightening than a stalker. What's worse is when she receives texts from him saying, "I'm watching you," from under her bed. Kyle Ravenscroft, at 18, hid under the bed of a teenage girl for an entire night, texting her, telling her he's standing on the grounds of her home and threatened to hang himself out her window. The 16-year-old girl was so frightened that she slept in bed with her mother that night. It wasn't until the next morning, after she saw that her room was in slight disarray, that she knew he wasn't lying. She traced the misplaced shoeboxes that were usually under her bed and peeked where they should be to find Kyle staring at her. She said, "What are you doing under my bed?" And he said that he was sleeping. The mother marched in and told him to get out, but he stole the girl's phone before doing so. Kyle was given a 12-week sentence, suspended for 2 years, but did not receive jail time. He paid about $100, completed 80 hours of community service, and received a restraining order from the girl. Number 1, meth head. Shane Cox may have had tactics a little better than this next meth head that hid under one couple's bed. Brian O'Neill and his wife returned to their home one evening to find that their house had been scavenged, ripped apart, and raided. Junk mail had been ripped open, a paint can dumped in their toilet, lotion smeared on doorknobs. To them, it felt like a scene out of a paranormal horror movie. Afraid for his wife and his life, Brian O'Neill took her and crept to the bedroom silently. The clothes were scattered on the floor, boxes were thrown about the room, and electronics were all piled up. Even crazier, the soles of many pairs of shoes had been ripped off. But nothing had been stolen. No money, electronics, or jewelry. The cops arrived shortly after Brian called them. It was believed an intruder climbed up a tree and through the window. There were no fingerprints, but there was a purse that did not belong to Brian's wife. "We didn't feel threatened, but we were somewhat disturbed," Brian O'Neill says. "It was a really weird experience." After the cops left, the couple started cleaning up. Bridget, Brian's wife, found a pair of shoes that weren't hers. About the same time, Brian picked up a bracelet by the bed when something underneath it caught his eye. This something sounded like a raccoon or possum that was in great pain. "Oh man, I haven't been able to sleep very well," said Brian. "It was like one of those really creepy movies." Bridget asked if something was wrong with her cat, if perhaps one of them had been harmed. Just then, the noise grew louder and the scratching started. The couple called the police immediately. Then they waited outside for the cops to check under their bed. Soon after, the cops came from the house with a crazy-looking lady. She had been hiding under the bed for more than 2 hours. The woman told cops that she had been on a meth rampage for several days. It is believed paranoia caused her to hide. The tall woman weighed 90 pounds, adding to her poltergeist persona. Later, a hypodermic needle and locks of the meth head's hair were found in the bedroom. Under the bed was a large kitchen knife. The two were shaken from the experience, but did not press charges as they felt bad for the woman. Are you shocked by these scary things found under the bed? Keep watching for more. Be sure to subscribe and see you next time on PG Planet.